All right, here is our third set of notes on gear ratios. Now the first one, if you didn't get those, they're in Schoology. That's the original gear ratio notes that you need. That's the one that tells you what happens if it's a number smaller than 1, or what happens if it's a number greater than 1, all that good stuff. The second time we just did some practice on those gear ratios, and now we're gonna actually talk about something specific to the gear ratios, and this one's called the idler gears. I'll repeat that since the pencil sharpener was on. Idler gears. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on the top of my paper so we can learn what those are. And I'm starting a new page. If you have lots of room on your gear notes pages, you could continue it. But I'm just going to go ahead and start a new page to make sure that I have plenty of room. By the way, today's date is the 20th of February, 2025. We also want to get our engineer initials there to verify these are our notes. You're going to need 3 gears for this. You're going to need a 60-tooth gear, a 50-tooth gear, and a 30-tooth gear. So we're going to start with the largest one. That is the 60-tooth gear. So if you just lay that on your paper, starting on the left side, and carefully trace it, we can start to get a gear image here. Now the idea here is it's just a model, so it doesn't have to be perfect. But we do want to put our axle in the middle, and we want to obviously make the diameter the same size as that 60 tooth, so it's a good representation of it. Let's continue with the 30 tooth gear right next to that. So we can put that right next to it, overlap it a little bit, and trace that 30 tooth gear. I'm going to go ahead and start labeling mine while you are catching up on the tracing part. So here's my 60 tooth gear and my 30 tooth gear. Looking good. Next up is going to be the 50 tooth gear. And we'll just put that right in a straight line right across. And this is our first time we've actually made a gear train with more than 2 gears. So we'll have to figure out how that affects things. And once again, put my axle in the middle and label my teeth. Now, when you make a gear train like this, or if I give you an image of a gear train, there's going to be one other thing I'm going to give you before I can ask you to calculate any gear ratios or make any decisions. Really label anything else. You can't really label anything else. Like if I were to say, hey, what's the driver gear? What's the driven gear? What's the input? What's the output? You can't answer that right now because you need a force. So we're going to put a little arrow pushing on that 60-tooth gear. And instead of just writing the word force, we're going to write motor. Because I want you to start thinking of different forces that might push this, right? So a motor would be a good force to get that 60-tooth gear started. Now I'm going to put a question out there to my class, and I want somebody to raise their hand and answer. I got a nice Jolly Rancher here. If you're listening to this, sorry, no Jolly Rancher for you, but you can still think of the answer before it's answered. I want to know, what direction will the 50-tooth gear spin? What direction will the 50-tooth gear spin? Ben, you had your hand up first?
Clockwise.
Clockwise. Why is it clockwise, Ben, or are you just guessing?
Because whenever the 60-tooth gear moves, the 30-tooth gear moves counterclockwise, and if it moved counterclockwise, the 50-tooth gear would move opposite to that.
All right, good description. In case you couldn't hear that out in iPad land here, the motor will push this gear clockwise, which makes this gear move counterclockwise, and then makes this gear clockwise. So it alternates. We call this alternating rotation. And you could take your 3 gears, lay them on the table right now if you want, and you could actually test this out. So start turning that larger gear. You might have to hold that middle gear in place a little bit, but you'll see that this will start to turn the smaller gear counterclockwise, and therefore the 50-tooth gear clockwise. So that's one question I could give you about this gear train once you know what the gear teeth are and where the motor is. Another question I could ask you is, which one of these is the driver gear? Which one of these is the driver gear? All the way in the back, Lewis. The 60-tooth gear. So I can label that as well, my driver gear. Now we have been putting the input word in parentheses. I just like to put an I right in front of my teeth here to let me know that that is my input gear, and that's going to equal 60 teeth. Now, this is going to help me later on my formula. That's why I did that. Lewis, heads up. All right, and that's my last Jolly Rancher, so no more Jolly Ranchers today. What is going to be my driven gear is my next question. What's going to be my driven gear? Go ahead. The 50-tooth gear, are you sure? Why isn't it the 30-tooth gear?
Because the gear is not spinning the correct way.
Well, I mean, there is no correct way, incorrect way. So what he said was, the 30-tooth is not spinning the correct way. Here's the deal with this. This is another one of those trick questions I gave you. Like, you can't tell me what the driver is without the motor. When you have a multiple, like a 3-gear train like this, I have to tell you what the output is as well. So I have to tell you, hey, we do want our 50-tooth gear to be the driven gear. When there's two options, you're going to have to either calculate the gear ratio for both of them or be told, hey, this is the driven gear. By the way, that means that my output is 50-tooth. So that works out really good. Lewis, did you have a question?
No.
Okay, we'll just move on. So the next question I might ask you is, what is the gear ratio? And this is what you guys just quizzed on, right? So let's go through that. I'm going to put O over I, which is my gear ratio formula. I know what O equals. It's 50. I know what I equals. It's 60. And now I need to reduce this. I can't leave it like this. So we're going to look for our GCF, or our greatest common factor. Anyone want to tell me what the GCF is before I write it? I kind of gave you a hint already. Go ahead, Lewis. 10. Good. So our GCF is 10. And you end up getting a gear ratio of 5/6. Now there's lots of things we can answer now with this. If you remember, there was 3 possible, in our first set of notes, there was 3 possible things that would happen here. Since this number is less than 1, we can say, hey, the output speed is increased. We can also say the input torque is increased. In other words, it's going to be harder to spin that bigger gear. This is like when you're on a bicycle and you want to go as fast as possible and you switch it to a gear that's hard to pedal, but it certainly makes once you pedal hard, it makes the wheel turn faster. And then it also says the output torque is decreased. Now, I'm not going to write all that again because we already wrote that in our initial notes. You're welcome to write it if you'd like. I'll repeat that one more time. With a gear ratio of less than 1, the output speed is increased. The output torque is decreased, but the input torque, the amount of torque you need for the input, is increased. So those are the 3 things. But here's my real question, since we're talking about idler gears. How did the idler gear affect the gear ratio? Did it affect the gear ratio? I guess that should be my question. Did the idler gear do anything to the gear ratio? I need some response out there. You can call out. You don't even have to raise your hand. No, it didn't. So that should be one of the first things we write. We'll put our little asterisk there, and we'll say idler gears do not, I'm going to double underline not, affect, written with an A, the gear ratio. So because our formula only includes the output and the input, that's all we have to know. The idler gear does not affect the gear ratio. The idler gear does affect something though. So let's see what we can think about here. Idler gears only affect what? Let's see if anybody in my class can answer this. What does the idler gear affect in this gear train? There's only one thing that it changes. Doesn't change the gear ratio, doesn't even change the torque or the speed because that's related to the gear ratio. What does it change? I'll give you a hint. It was one of the first questions I asked you. What did I ask you the first question? Go ahead.
It changes what direction it keeps.
Yeah, it changed the rotational direction. That's it. So it only affects, so idler gears only affect the rotational direction. By the way, that's one of those nice big sounding word combinations you can use today when your parents ask you what you learned in school today. I was talking about rotational direction of gears. Might make you sound smart. Of course, if you have smart parents, they might have some follow-up questions, so you better be ready for that. So idler gears do not affect the gear ratio, but idler gears only affect the rotational direction. Let's do one more of these before we stop notes today. That's really the core of our notes. We're just going to use this next part to practice a little bit. So let's start with the 50-tooth gear this time. Just change it up. Actually, let me change my color here. I'm going to go back to the black color. So there we're going to trace a 50-tooth gear, and I'm going to label it, put in my axle. Now I'm going to put a 30-tooth gear, but just to make it look a little different and so it'll fit on your paper, I'm going to go at a 45-degree angle down. So you might want to look at what I'm doing here before you actually start tracing. But I'm going to go down at an angle a little bit because I want you to realize that gear trains do not have to be straight across like we've been drawing them. They can actually be angled. And then actually we're going to draw another 30 at a 45-degree angle going up from that one. And you know what? Let's do another 30 going up at an angle. So we have three 30-tooth gears in our gear train, kind of at a 45-degree angle here. They'll still work, by the way, as long as the teeth are intertwined. They'll still work. And let's go ahead and add that 60-tooth gear on there as well. We'll put it on the end. We'll put it at a 45-degree angle going down from that last 60-tooth gear. So again, you might want to look at what I'm doing first. There we go. Just so you can see that you don't have to have the gears straight across. They will still do the same thing. It does not affect the gear ratio. You'll still do the same formula, still the same calculations. I'm just going to pause for a moment to give you a chance to catch up. Let me go ahead and add my motor in, and then I'll pause. So we'll keep the motor in the same place. Let's not change the motor. We'll keep that in the same area. So there's a little motor right here pushing that 50-tooth gear. So go ahead and get it copied. All right, I feel like I gave you enough time. Asking the same question, but this time I'm gonna say the 60-tooth gear because that seems to be on the end. What direction is the 60-tooth gear going to spin? What direction is the 60-tooth gear going to spin? You have a 50-50 chance here. Clockwise or counterclockwise? What do you think?
Clockwise.
Clockwise. Let's see if he's right. If this one's going clockwise with the motor, this one goes counterclockwise, then this one goes clockwise, this one goes counterclockwise, and this one goes clockwise. Great job, Dimitri. He is correct. That will go clockwise. So there's actually a little bit of a rule here. If there's an odd number of gears, like 3, 5, 7, 9, the difference between the first gear and the last gear will be they will spin in the same direction. If it's an even number of gears, like 2, 4, 6, 8, whatever, the difference between the beginning gear and the last gear, they will spin in opposite directions. So there's a little rule that is made when you have these gear trains like this. Let's continue with the rest of the labels. I'm just going to label it for you, just to go through. The first one I'm going to label is the motor is right where the driver gear is. So I'm going to automatically label that there and put my input as 50 teeth. And then I'm going to tell you, like I said before, I'm going to tell you that we want the driven gear to be the 60 tooth. So there it is, and that would be my output. And now I need to write my formula so I can do my gear ratio. I'm going to do it underneath because I don't have any room on the side there. So O over I, 60 over 50, which reduces by a greatest common factor of 10 to be 6/5. And once again, I've discovered that the idler gears, we have 3 idler gears in the middle. They do not affect the gear ratio. And we are going to get the Legos out next class, and we will actually demonstrate this so you can actually see it in action and kind of do like a proof, if you will, to prove that the idler gears don't affect the gear ratio, that they only affect the rotational direction. I want to bring up one more thing before we stop our notes today. And I'm going to do this in blue, and I don't necessarily want you to write it. I just want to talk about it. First of all, before we write that, let me just say one more thing. There are 3 things we could write about this because our gear ratio here is greater than 1. So we don't have to write those, but I do want to go over them. So that means the output torque is going to be increased. The output torque is going to be increased. It also means the input torque is going to be decreased. And it also means my output speed is going to be decreased. And again, those are the statements we wrote in that first set of notes. They are on Schoology if you need them. And this is related to a gear ratio of greater than 1. But last little thing I want to mention about this. So if I give you this gear train, this whole gear train right here, if I give you this as a question, be careful of what I might throw at you, because I could say something like this. If I put the motor here on this middle gear, that would make this the input gear, right? What are going to be my output gear? What's going to be my output gear? Honestly, I have a lot of choices. I could make this one right next to it my output gear. I could make this one my output gear. I could make this one my output gear, or this one. And that's why I told you with these longer gear trains, I have to kind of tell you what I want the output to be for you to calculate it. Because if I move the output gear here, that's going to be different than if I move it here. It's also going to be different if I moved it here. So these can get a little complicated. And that's why I want to make sure you see this. Now, again, I don't want you to draw what I did in blue. I'm going to erase all those. It was just something to think about. Right now, I just want you to know what we have in our notes currently. So make sure you have these notes right here copied. Get them in your notebook. And once again, if you don't have the original notes on gear ratios, get on Schoology. You can do that at home and get these copied in your journal, or maybe do it during break time, which we're going to do right now. Take your 5-minute break, stretch your legs, talk to your friends, put in your bathroom passes. You got 5 minutes. We'll be back after that.